Hello and welcome everyone to another one of my mindful conversations that I have with these beautiful souls that are everywhere around the world, where we're sharing this such a vital message about loving who you are, making yourself important, and number one, giving yourself permission, right? Because we tend to hesitate and not allow ourselves permission to make ourselves important, to make self-care happen. And with me today I have Vicki. And the way I found Vicki was, of course, through Instagram, and she had the same powerful message about, we go through different transitions in life and different events, and it tends to mold us a certain way. But then when we step out of that mold, we finally discover who we are and get through any traumas we might have gone through and basically help shift that mindset. So Vilki, thank you so much for being here. I love that you're an empowering coach like myself and you have this wonderful message to share with our audience today. So thank you very much again for being here, and tell our audience, where are you from, Vicki? Because a lot of feedback comes from is like, wow, this person was from here that you had on, this person was from here. So please share with us where you're from, Vicki.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Tanya. I'm so excited to be on here. I am from the Gold Coast, Australia. So that's a little bit north up on the Gold Coast. And actually, I'm on the Sunshine Coast now. I moved here last month. and if you know much about Australia, it's really sunny and it's beautiful. Beautiful. And our Christmas is actually really, really, really hot. It's not cold at all. So we're in the scorching sun. We're in sun hats and sunscreen, and it's a beautiful part of the world.
Yeah, and I really wanted to sense that because here, as you know, I live in Ontario, Canada, and today we're expecting snow squalls. It's not here yet, so we're expecting 10 to 20 centimeters snow. So, and no matter where we are in a climate where it's colder like myself or yours, where it's starting to get scorching hot, it doesn't matter, right? It's still important to keep on thinking in a positive way and shifting the mindset. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey and what brought you to become an empowering coach, Vicki, that you are today.
Yeah, I've had a really beautiful journey. So I'm a wife. I've been married for 20 years now. And I've got three amazing sons. One's 18, one's 7, and one's 11. And I got married and I went through my schooling and I got a job and I've lived a really, really beautiful life. And part of always in the background of my beautiful life, I actually had a very heavy story that I was keeping secret from a really young age. So I'll tell you a little bit about my story and my background. When I was 4 years old, my family wasn't the most wealthiest, so there's different economic levels. And my family, we were living in the bush in the back of a car, and we'd have a bath in a box. And my parents never hurt us, but the government didn't actually like us living like this. So one night my parents left town and we ended up at a stranger's house. And in this house, it was safe. Like, all the adults were really safe. But I walked off on my parents and I just walked into a boy's bedroom. And I was 4 years old at this stage. And in this boy's bedroom, there was actually 5 boys and I was the only girl. And I just walked in, not thinking anything of it. And I remember walking in and I was full of power. I remember being this little 4-year-old and I thought that I was a little, I'm going to use the word little bitchy girl. So I walked into the room and I was like, I don't like this room. It's all boys and it smells. And I went to walk out and this boy just put his hand on the wall and he said, "You're not going anywhere. I'm getting your body out." And that was when he'd never seen a girl before. So he was highly curious. What he actually ended up doing to me was he misused me in a sexual way. So a lot of people use the term sexual abuse, and that is simply, ab is like the miss, use, so it's the abuse. And when you misuse something in that way, it holds a very heavy negative experience to it. So what actually happened that day is I was misused in a sexual way, which left me gender shamed. So I wasn't allowed to leave that room until I promised to never tell anybody.
Mhm.
And I promised to never tell anybody and keep it a secret so that I could leave. And the room was fairly violent as well because there was lots of fighting going on. Not all the boys
Yeah.
wanted it to happen. And so one boy was being held down, and it was this big ordeal. And to this little 10-year-old boy, it wasn't a big deal to him. He's like, it's not a big deal. And so he was just determined to learn. So I never hated on him. I did, however, hate on myself because I could hear my parents talking in the next room. And I was like, why am I letting this happen? And so I created this really strong negative self talk. And so I got married and never told my husband this experience. And I had 3 children, and I had my children in shame. And I always had a smile on my face because I actually loved life. I had a best friend, and we got on really well. And my parents were highly loving. I never knew what racism was. I got to high school and some girls were being racist, and I went home and told my parents, and they're like, oh, some people are like that, that's racism. And I never knew any of that. So I actually lived a really beautiful life, and I just held this shame and embarrassment, which really held me back from experiencing true female power. And my true inner self went away when I was 4 years old, and I just had this facade of a happy face on. So that took me on a journey. About 4 years ago, I got introduced to creating a relationship with myself. And this is where I traveled. I actually went to America 4 times, and I went to Bali once. And I was trying to find my voice, and I was studying sales, and I was studying speaking and all of this stuff, and it all didn't work. I just could not find my groove until one day I went and I humbled myself in front of this coach, and I told her my story. And she's like, and I was like, I go on to feed the homeless people, and I absolutely love them. And she goes, yeah, that's external. And then she goes, I said, my mum showed me how to love. Like, she used to take me and do all this really loving stuff. And she goes, yeah, that's external. And then I rattled off a few things, and she's like, yeah, but external, external, external. And she goes, you got to go to yourself and create some inner friendship with yourself. And that's when my journey started to create a beautiful relationship with myself. And
Yeah.
that's when my world changed.
Yeah, right. You know, see for myself when we've gone through, I'll call it trauma or some kind of experience, we think it's sometimes our fault or what did we do or what had this happen to us, and then you know subconsciously we think it's all about us, and you know we don't really see us or think of ourselves at a high level where we need to. And the fact that you know something you did as well, Vicki, as well as myself, you went on this personal journey really to you brought out that what was deep seated and you forgot about in this journey of healing, this self journey of self discovery, brought out you know these different issues. And when that comes to light, it allows you to make this shift, right? And that's what I love about the conversations I have on my podcast is we let other women out there who's in the audience right now know that they're not alone, and you know there's similar stories out there, and that we all do share uh, similar roadblocks. And once we get past those and beyond that, you know this beautiful new journey begins, I'll say. And it's a journey that never ends, right? And you know what allows you to continue to thrive and live in this passion you have of becoming an empowering coach, and what allows you to continue to empower other women?
Yeah, I'm very big in living in the future. I visualize so much. And when I look back at how far I have come, I know how far somebody else can come, and I
Mhm.
see it. And I know there was once a stage in my life where there was nothing anybody could say that could help this feeling. Like I've been searching for answers for decades. And when it didn't change until I created a relationship with myself, um, I know that for anybody who's been through some heavy kind of trauma, I know there is hope for them. So I live in this future where I see, like, one of the procedures in the world, um, is it's quite common. Like there's 200 million girls right now who go through a process which is cultural, or religious, and it's like female genital cutting, and
Mhm.
it's 200 million girls right now, and that experience only happens once to them. Yet that's enough to create a lot of pain. And what I know is when I visualize the future, I see a world where that is not here, and it happens
Mhm.
by conversation, like what we're
Mhm.
having right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that a girl doesn't need to go through that to become a woman. Um, she has a relationship with herself, and um, that kind of takes it away. So I visualize the future a lot, and I see that podcasts like this, what we're doing now, and having this conversation is what's going to heal the future. So I live so much in the world. I do love healing, and I see it happening everywhere, and that's what keeps me going.
Yeah, and there's always I find some words that kind of really strike out as my guests are talking. One of the things you said is relationship with yourself. It's something so many of us, so many women struggle, right? Having a relationship with themselves and going deep in that and honoring yourself and honoring your inner voice and honoring how you're feeling and allowing yourself to go through emotions and allow yourself to that relationship with yourself, allow it to happen, right? And there's going to be high points and there's going to be low points. And something I always say is, we all hear this voice, right? Two voices. One voice is very negative, constantly nagging, constantly has negative words, constantly not allowing us to value who we are. And then we have this other voice that speaks high. It's often hid. It speaks beautifully, right? It speaks kindness. It speaks beautiful. It speaks compliments. That negative voice is always going to be there. Allow it to be heard, but do not give it permission. Give this higher permission to add a positive with it. So, that's how I love what you said, the relationship with yourself. There's so many relationships. There's outside relationships we have with other people that we thrive with, we go towards. But how often do we seek and find that relationship with ourselves? And once you, I'll say, revamp and allow that to happen, these beautiful things that can happen that you're talking about and that, that I'm talking about. And like you said, these conversations, they need to happen. I mean, that's why I love having guests like yourself on, Vicki, is, you know, having that relationship, having that voice happen, knowing that the more of us as a community as a whole, the community of women, the more of us that we share the message, that we share the voice, the more women that we can help. So I thank you for, making that happen and bringing in your own story and bringing in other stories that is truly happening in there. And it even can be in your own backyard with your neighbors, with your friendships, the social perspective of it. So I appreciate that. And of course we're 6 7 going into soon 8 months of COVID, because March kind of it started here, and now we're going ending of November into December. COVID is a part of our life, right? So what's something you've been doing, Vicki, advice you can give to others to help them stay positive and help them get through? Because it's almost, we're hearing that the second wave is now here. It's getting at a higher level of cases than before. So what's something that you do that you can share that helps you keep on moving forward?
Yeah. I recently was on a podcast with some other women, and one of the ladies said something really interesting. She said that people who are living in love right now, like, we can really feel the vibration. So, going to another book that I read, actually, there's a lady called Alison A. Armstrong, and she writes books to help relationships. And she said that women have a really strong connection to the Eternal One. So we can tap in way more easier than men can to the spiritual realm. And we're natural nurturers, and that nurturing goes away through life experiences sometimes, but it's there. And so we have this natural ability to tap into the spiritual world. And so through COVID, back to the yoga teacher, she was saying that people who are living in love are really experiencing this love vibration at the moment. And people who are in fear are really feeling the fear vibration at this moment. And so my advice through COVID is that you get to choose either fear or love. It's actually a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you want to live in the love vibration, what I have found on my personal journey is this thing called quiet time. And quiet time can tap you really, really fast into the eternal spiritual realm. And this is where a whole new relationship comes. So you've got a relationship with yourself, and now you've got a relationship with whoever your belief system is. So either that's God, or that's the universe, or it's connecting with your loved ones. Whatever it is for you, you can tap into that through quiet time and get to choose the love or the fear. And I can guarantee that the love is so exciting. I love spending quiet time with the presence of love. So that's, yeah.
Yeah, it's true, right? It's that quiet time that we need. But a lot of times people struggle with quiet time because they're not used to it. Because prior to COVID, life was so busy. It was just busy. We didn't know why it was so busy. We just made it busy. And I said that very fast for a reason, right? COVID has caused us to slow down. And you're right. Those of us have just naturally that intuition of listening and that calmness and feeling that vibe, it comes to us so naturally, right? But then other people, yeah, they struggle with it, and almost like they shut the door because it's a hard time allowing calmness to happen. It's a hard time being just in the moment. And I always say, just take, if it means just sitting quietly and allowing 3 deep breaths to happen and 3 exhales, just doing that simple exercise makes a huge difference if you can implement that into your life. So Vicki, as we're slowly coming to, and I know I jumped right into the next question, but we're slowly drawing a close to our conversation today. And the audience out there, if you want to find out how to find Vicki, of course, all the information is down below right here under this video. So feel free to reach out, ask her questions. She's there to listen as well. So as we're coming to a close, Vicki, there's always 3 questions that I ask, and it's always I'll say what kind of becoming my favorite part of the interview, because we're learning a little bit of who you are as that person, not only your expertise, but as a person, right? So Vicki, a quote. What is a quote that you absolutely love and you tend to live by?
My favorite quote, I saw on a Facebook post one day, and it changed my life. And it said, "The greatest gift you have to offer is that of your own self transformation."
Lovely. Oh my gosh. I've not heard that one, but yeah, it's nice. I like that because we do, right? Life is a journey and life is full of transformations. It's whether we allow them to happen or not, whether we struggle because we're fighting it or just, okay, bring it on. Life is a journey. Nice quote. Lovely. What about advice? What's the number one advice, simplified advice you can share with our listeners today?
My number one piece of advice would be that prayer is a request. So you're asking a request, and meditation and quiet time is listening. So, like, really quickly, my one piece of advice is to separate your heart from your head. You've got these two different minds, and once you separate your heart from your heart can listen and it can tap in.
Yeah.
So separate your heart from your head, and you practice that with just a few minutes a day, just 2 minutes sitting on the balcony, practicing separating your heart from your head. And in time, you'll realize the different brains that are happening in your body.
Very true, right? Our heart never lies. It's our mind that has too many influences, outside influences, but our heart is purely our whole soul. So nice. All right. You cannot include family with this last question. People are like, what? I can't include. No, you can't. So if this, Vicki, was the last day of your life, what is something that you would be thankful for?
Oh, I would be so thankful. So right before COVID, I got to go to New York for year 2020, New Year's, and I was in Times Square with over 100,000 people, and it blew my mind. And we got these little confettis. We wrote the Lord family was here because our last name is Lord, and it went up in that big ball drop,
Uh,
and it was like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, and at midnight it went shoo, and all this confetti went all around New York. And I actually couldn't get into Times Square at midnight itself, but I was there all through the day. And I went home, got changed, came back and couldn't get in. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't get in. And then I saw this girl wearing running clothes. And I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm going for a run through Central Park. So at midnight at Central Park, I'm running with the New York runners through Central Park with thousands and thousands of runners. And the fireworks at midnight were going off all around Manhattan and New York, and the ball drop was happening, and I was just there in this world of awe because this Aussie girl running around New York at midnight on the year 2020, it totally transformed my life. I had tears in my eyes. I was just
yeah.
like, this was an experience of a lifetime.
Wow.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
grateful for.
Wow. That's interesting. It's like it's interesting that you can't even imagine unless you were there, right? And I was gonna say, and I know like I've been in running races myself, so it's running yourself or running a race is two different things. I realized it wasn't a race, but just the whole the energy must have been just skyrocketing. Oh, Vicki, this has been a wonderful conversation. I appreciate you being here, sharing your insights, and letting people know as well that we can get beyond that roadblock, right? When we allow ourselves to open up, listen to our heart, know what's going on in our head, but truly listening to our heart and valuing who we are. So thank you for sharing that message as well. And again, making time for being here. And it's really important, this podcast, that we as women come together as a community and share that brilliant message that more women want to hear. And those of you listening to the podcast, thank you again for listening to another one of my mindful conversations, where we share a message about loving who you are, making self-care important, releasing that negative self-critic who doesn't allow you to, in reality, move ahead and enjoy that journey you're to be on. And as always, before you go to bed tonight, think about the best thing that happened today. And when you wake up in the morning, feel and send out. And if you feel like it, write down what you're grateful for. Have a wonderful day. And remember, love who you are. Take care of everyone. Bye-bye.